Welcome in to another new podcast from Coatings Pro Magazine. I'm your host, Ben Dubose, and I'm the news editor with the AMP publications team. AMP, of course, is the shorthand acronym for the Association for Materials Protection and Performance, of which Coatings Pro is a member magazine. Today, we're chatting with executives from Canadian Industries Limited, better known as CIL. We're going to be talking about some of the latest changes in the business and the next chapter for the company, as well as product launches, store openings, research and innovation in Canada, as well as just some general things that are on the horizon for the Canadian paints and coatings industry. For those who don't know, in 2025, CIL was established as a standalone company from Pittsburgh Paints Company. And within that standalone company, we've got Tim Fisher and Brendan Dembler, co-president of CIL. They're going to be providing updates on what's ahead for the company, the state of the industry in Canada, and a whole lot more. So we've got a list of questions and topics that I want to get to today, but I want to start with introductions. Can each of you just tell me a little bit about yourself, your current roles with CIL, and your journey in the industry to this point? Tim, we can start with you.
Yeah, Ben, and thanks for having us on. It's really a pleasure to be here. We love the opportunity to be able to talk about the company and the Canadian coatings market, which I think a lot of emphasis gets put on the U.S. side, but there's a lot to talk about here as well. So, my background is a little non-traditional for the coatings world. I spent the start of my career as an intelligence officer in the military, so pretty different experience from this one. But that was a fun beginning of my career. And then after that, transitioned into strategy and operations. Actually got some of my early work was in Canada, and I ended up a kilometer below the surface in an underground mine in Kirkland Lake, Ontario. For those that know where that is. But in 2024, that was when I started working with CIL, and I got to know the team and help develop the long-term strategy for the company. And then when the opportunity came along to lead CIL, which at the time was Pittsburgh Paints Canada, Brendan and I knew how good the team was, how good the products were, the brands, the customers, and we jumped at the chance.
Yeah, no, and Ben, this is Brendan here. Thanks for taking the time, and really appreciate you giving us the opportunity to speak with you and in front of your listeners about. You mentioned a few things at the onset of your introduction there, but a lot of exciting things going on within CIL that we're always happy to talk about. It's a pleasure. So thank you. Yeah, similar to Tim, took a roundabout way to the workplace and ending with CIL. I took 2 gap years after high school to play junior hockey in Des Moines, Iowa, of all places. That was humbling. You learn that you're good, but you're not that good, and made the smart decision to go to school after that. I think being in Canada now, I think my hockey background might be part of the reason I got the opportunity, to be honest. It's been a lot of fun the past few months even. I was in Calgary with our team and customers, out in St. John with our team and a customer there as well, getting back on the ice. So it's been fun to continue lacing up the skates and being out there with the team. It's been really great camaraderie. Back on track though, after I stopped playing after college, moved into business, supported a lot of large business transactions, first more on the selling the businesses side, and then transitioned over to the other side, the transforming, making better businesses, the same thing that Tim was working on as well. So similar to Tim, started working with CIL in the beginning of 24, and again, was not an official part of the team, was really working side by side with that leadership team here, and getting the opportunity to lead this business now. We've really been able to hit the ground running, taking the opportunity head on. A lot was already accomplished by the team and the vision that the management was on already. And there's even more to do. So we're really excited to accelerate that.
So let's talk a little bit more about CIL and its niche in the marketplace. What's the history there? I mentioned in 2025, it was established as a standalone company from Pittsburgh Paints. Just walk us through that process and why it was worthwhile to go at it alone as a standalone company.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Ben. To start off, like you said, CIL, we're Canadian Industries Limited, and we're the largest manufacturer and distributor of architectural coatings in Canada. We sell through the Dulux, Seco, Bettinel, Glidden, and Olympic brands. We've got over 1,500 employees that support our customers throughout the country, and we sell our products through over 230 corporate stores and over 1,000 partner retail and dealer storefronts. So, if you add all that up, I'd say our niche in the marketplace is we're the paint experts that Canadians trust to deliver not only excellent products, but also excellent service and support. And we do that through our Dulux stores. We do that through our CIL partners, and our customers count on us, and they keep coming back to us time and time again over a very long period of time. Maybe helpful to talk about our history a little bit. The trust that we built with our customers stretches all the way back to, if you'd believe it, 1862, which is before Canada became a country. A big part of the company's history was actually on the explosive side. We supported Canada as a major supplier in both world wars. And then in 1927, Canadian Industries Limited became the official name for the company. And so in the century that's followed, CIL has been a household name, not just in Quebec and Ontario, which were kind of the historic strong centers for the company, but really across the country. And so, I think that history is important because when you ask about reestablishing CIL as a standalone company, it had a lot to do with acknowledging and honoring that history. And we asked ourselves, how do we serve our customers best? And it was by making significant investment into the country where we were founded and refocusing our strategy on our home turf. And I think so when Brendan and I came into the business, like I said in the intro, we were Pittsburgh Paints Company Canada. And the previous owner, PPG, really the center of that universe was Pittsburgh in the United States. And so in the PPG years, the ship was being steered from Pittsburgh. That's where the decisions were being made. And they didn't necessarily reflect the realities of the business. And I think, Brendan and I and the whole leadership team for that matter, we looked around at all the opportunities in Canada to invest and to grow the business. And all these opportunities had been put on the back burner. And so we said, there's just too many things to do here. The needs of the customers are unique, and we've got the opportunity to really take hold of our destiny in the market. And we've got the customers, we've got the team, we've got the products. Let's stand this business up as a truly Canadian one and serve this market.
Yeah, maybe Ben, we can get going on this for a long time, of course, as you can tell. But like a good example of this is, there's geographies within the market here, in our home turf in Canada where, we didn't have stores, right? We didn't have the appropriate sales coverage to provide the service our customers expect of us. The product development prioritized to hit the U.S. market needs with PPG versus in Canada thinking about, the difference between the specification requirements and MPI, right? And even between provinces, those can change. The raw material regulatory differences, right? Which the CCA does a good job advising the whole industry on as well. So, for a long time, the priorities were being allocated. CIL wasn't at the top of the list because it was called Pittsburgh Paints Company of Canada. And what that means to us actually is I think it's a true testament to the strength of our brands that Tim mentioned, to the team, to the facility here in Vaughan. The business has been a fortress, but it didn't grow out. It didn't grow in the way that it probably could have, and we believe should. So, in September, we reestablished CIL, and we built out a very strong team, building off this really strong foundation, as I mentioned previously. And the 9 months that we've been here now, they've been transformative. We've been connecting with our customers in an even stronger way with the team in place here. And, going back to the new store openings that you mentioned, like we're excited to, really lean into that and, really put our foot back into the market on the Dulux side to be opening new store locations in 2026, 2027, and years beyond. So that'll be the first time in 8 years that happens with our Dulux stores business, and couldn't be more proud of that.
You guys mentioned the customers just at a high level. Who are they, and what are the pieces of feedback that you're hearing from them as far as their needs, their challenges, and ultimately why going standalone with CIL can meet some of those?
Yeah, Ben, I don't want to sound cliche. It probably will, but really every Canadian is our customer. And I mentioned all the brands. I mentioned the CIL, the Dulux, Glidden, Betsinel, Olympic. I mean, we do service across the entire coatings market. So whether you're painting your first home or you're leading a team to paint a new apartment building, you're likely a customer of CIL. That being said, we cover the spectrum, but broadly, you could classify our customers into two groups, and that would be professional contractors and then homeowners. And maybe that's a DIY customer. Maybe they're working through, a residential repainter. But what we do well with both of those segments is we've got experts who can provide the right advice for each segment. And they're not necessarily the same people. We've got folks that support one or the other. We've got folks that have been doing this for decades and and could tell you, answer any question you've got on any project. Our products, we've got products that are tailor made for each segment, whether it's the pro, whether it's DIY, whether it's a commercial space, whether it's, interior, exterior. But I think across both segments, we have that same focus on service and quality. And, the reason that we can say every Canadian is our customer is because of our field team. And they're really the team that's built the reputation that our company stands on. It's a world-class team. I'd say it's definitely an advantage we have as Canada's paint company that we're in the market. We can be responsive to the changing dynamics and needs of our customers.
And those, I think, Ben, you said, hey, what's the feedback you've been getting from customers? And it's very consistent. The market today, I'm sure you've had other people on the podcast recently in the past couple of years, even, there's softness, right? There's market weakness. And what you hear from customers is every single job counts. Every dollar they spend in their paint counts. And we take a lot of pride. We don't take it lightly that every time they come buy a CIL product, it goes on the right way. It does not result in any issues for the customer having to go back and increase the number of labor hours involved in the project. Like, that's something we take a lot of pride in, and especially our facility here in Vaughan take a lot of pride in the way that we manufacture products and the quality. So the value really matters, but the performance for that value matters even more, I think, in the market today than it has historically. So because we manufacture our products here, the team lives in the communities we serve. There's a level of accountability that comes with that, and we take that very seriously. And that's what we've been hearing from customers and what we've been leaning into.
So for CIL as a business, what's new? We teased to that off the top. What are some of the recent changes, the product launches, things of that nature, some of the new offerings that you're rolling out to the market in 2026?
What's new?
Where do we start?
Maybe it's important quickly to just say what's not new and what hasn't changed and what will never change is we still manufacture right here. We're still making investments, in and growing our team to better serve our customers here. We wake up every day thinking about how we provide the best products and service to everything, Tim and I mentioned previously. And I think that's established like a certain level of foundation and focus. We found a lot of ways to make our business and CIL work harder for our customers. I'll let Tim talk about the new product launches, but beyond that, we've got the new store openings planned for the first time in 8 years, which is huge for this company, both symbolically and also just, charting a new path forward for growth. We've launched new retail partnerships, signed very long-term agreements to help us reach new customers. And then in keeping with the standalone business, we built out our team here, the product team here, planning team here, marketing team here, invested in our people locally to ensure that we've got the talent necessary, to lead all the exciting initiatives that I'll let Tim get to as well.
Yeah. So Ben, on the product side, it's been a big year for new product launches. Our Dulux Diamond, which is, pretty well known in the market, we upgraded the formula, and every customer that has tried out the new formula has just been impressed. I mean, it's not a product that was lacking, but now it's just an incredible product that we've gotten a lot of traction with. Maybe the most exciting thing is our Dulux Anti-Scuff, which we launched just last month. There have been a lot of scuff products that have come out into the market in the last couple of years. I would say this is not, just another scuff product. It's a truly differentiated one. I get fired up talking about Anti-Scuff because there's nothing more exciting than when you can call up a customer and say, hey, I've got a product, you've got to get your hands on it. It's different and it performs. Maybe an example is we were at one of our stores in Vancouver and we had a customer try one of our demo boards while we were there. So he scraped a hockey puck against our anti-scuff product and then against a competitor scuff product. So both our scuff products, the performance was so dramatically different that he said, hang on, handed me his phone and said, you have to record me doing this so I can send it to my business partner. And that's kind of the feedback that we've gotten across the board. People are just blown away by this. I'll get off my soapbox on this one, but if I had one wish, it would be for every Canadian to come to one of our stores and try it. Because I think once you get your hands on it and once you see what it can do, you'll never try another scuff product again. And it's zero VOC too. So it's a pretty remarkable new product. I mean, all hats off to our R&D team for coming out with something pretty special.
I want to follow up about the Canadian market specifically, because we're based in the US and we do have a lot of US guests on this podcast channel, but we do want to cover global markets as well. So, for you all in Canada, what are some of the unique factors that are driving regional demand there? And what are some of the distinctive challenges or even opportunities that are out there for your customers, specifically in the Canadian market?
Yeah, Ben, I mean, what you said at the beginning with, you know, a lot of your listeners are US based. I think the difference between the US and the Canadian market at a macro scale is something that gets missed by some of our competitors that are headquartered in the US. It really is a unique market. I mean, the conditions are different, the climate is different. You wouldn't believe, you know, we'll go to a meeting in the States and then you come back to Toronto and it's snowing. So it's, you know, it's different products you need for those conditions. The regulatory environment is very different. The specs are very different. Even down to the way that the customers want to be served in the store and in the field. It's just different from the US. So I think if you're not building your products and your service model specifically for Canada, you're probably going to miss the mark. It's just hard to be successful here if you don't manufacture here and you don't build your strategy here. And I think this is a time where Canadians are looking for Canadian manufactured products more than ever. So it's a big opportunity for us. I mean, that's at the macro level. I mean, Brendan, you probably want to talk more at the Canada specific level.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think a good way to put it in perspective for, you know, the listeners in the US as well. It's, you know, of course there's different products used in different applications if you're in, say, Ohio or you're in Texas, right? Different climates. But what's different, I think, in the Canadian market is the differences from province to province. Like you're operating, you can go directly west, directly east, and you can be in, you know, different markets, same climate, different products. And how we get that local knowledge and the teams that live there and serve there to get that feedback back to our product team here and really develop products that are right for that marketplace. Whether you're in Quebec, Ontario, out in the Atlantic, I mentioned St. John before, big presence for us there. You know, Western Canada, in Calgary, Saskatchewan, you know, Vancouver. These are all markets where you can't develop one solution and blanket apply it across the business. You really need to go market by market, determine, hey, is this a strong MPI market where we need to hit these qualifications, and we go back and we test our products in a different way and add something or change something that really improves our performance and gets back to that quality and performance point that we touched on earlier. So, you know, it really, the way that we've set up the business now with CIL, it's really, I think, enabled us to even improve upon that. We've done a great job historically. I think this enables us to provide the right products and support. I do want to take a quick moment to call out Quebec specifically, where our CICO business is headquartered in Boucherville. Our field team there, I can only say this because last night they took down Buffalo in Game 7, but you know they're playing like the Montreal Canadiens right now. It's, you know, it's win after win, just like the Habs seem to be doing. You know, with the level they're playing right now, our team there is next level as well, and why our business is so strong there, and something we'll continue to invest in.
Yeah, it's interesting. And certainly there's more relatability to your customers. I was actually thinking about basketball today because down here I was watching Oklahoma City and San Antonio in the NBA's Western Conference Finals. Almost easy to forget what a priority the Stanley Cup playoffs are for you guys. So I'm sure a lot of the people that you talk to are appreciative of, you know, your local connection on many levels. As far as the remainder of 2026 and just looking forward, you just spoke to some of the unique factors about the Canadian market. Given that, what are your business priorities moving forward? What are, you know, as we enter the second half of 2026 and beyond, what are the things that you're trying to change or evolve as a business to make sure that you meet your customers where they are?
Yeah, well, 2026 it's been slow thus far across the country. I mean, it's a softer market. I think probably you're feeling that down in the US as well. But I mean, I think with all the geopolitical challenges, we've got rising oil prices. We expect we'll probably see that some of that slowness continue throughout the year here. I think for us, for CIL, if there were going to be a time where things were slower, this would probably be the time we choose for that to be the case. I mean, look, if the market could be up all the time, that would be choice number one. But a close second would be right now, because our priorities are pretty clear. We're investing in our stores, we're investing in our manufacturing, we're investing in our team, and that investment takes time. And I think this market really gives us the space and time to do that right and to make sure that everything we're doing is with the customer in mind and it sets us up for the long term. I think if the market were screaming right now, it would divide our focus a little bit. But I think right now the market's strong enough that it funds the investment that we're making. And then we can set this thing up right. And by the time we're really into the swing of new store openings and we've got all our team members trained up, I think the market will help magnify those investments. But really our focus is just investing and executing with excellence. And that'll set us up for the long term. So I think it actually is, it's not a disadvantage for us right now that things have been a little bit slow, because really we're not 100% worried about 2026. We're worried about the next century of this company.
Yeah, I think we'll see what I'm hoping to see is a correlation between Montreal's playoff run and paint sales. All we need to do for next year maybe is get all the Canadian franchises, deep into the playoffs and, create that sentiment across the market, and people being in a positive and great mindset. So I'm actually not to jump back on the sports topic, Ben, but I'm curious to see how that comes through in the numbers.
And hey, Ben, you forgot about the Raptors, early playoff exit, but next year we'll be back there, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, I'm based in Houston, and so we have a lot of appreciation for the Raptors because Fred VanVleet, who was a part of that Raptors championship team a few years ago, is now a part of the Rockets. Unfortunately, wasn't this year, missed the year with a knee injury, but there's definitely appreciation for the Raptors and those teams now that one of their more visible players is down here. And yeah, every time you watch the Raptors, the fans are amazing. The engagement, even relative to, high-profile teams in the States, it feels like is a step above. It's a really great atmosphere. So you mentioned beyond 2026 and it being not just about the short term, but really the next, decades, or I think you mentioned potentially a century. So we're talking well out into the future. So when you're trying to plot out and map out what that looks like, obviously it starts with research and innovation. So what's in the pipeline for you all? What are you targeting? Just speak to, I guess, the future of the Canadian paints and coatings industry, what's on the horizon, or at least what you can potentially envision being on the horizon.
Can't give away all of our secrets, but we'll do our best. We'll do our best to give a little insight here. Maybe just building off of Tim's last point for a moment there. It's, trade flows change, trends change. I think what's important for us at CIL is, we got to be building the foundation for the long term, and the foundation and investing in innovation, like that will never change, right? So that's something that we know that we can always depend on, and we'll just continue doing regardless of any trends in the market or what we're seeing. So I think for the Canadian paints industry, the market's going to continue to push for a few things. I think it's local manufacturing. I think it's low and zero VOC products. And I don't want to get away from excellent service, because that's what truly differentiates people in the market from our perspective. And especially in this tighter competitive environment, our customers, like I mentioned before, need more out of their coatings. They want higher performance. They need more durability, those high traffic spaces, how we protect those spaces, protect those walls, so that durability, persists. And they expect more from these products, like we're talking about right now, and more than they did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and that's going to accelerate. So I'd say that's the major focus of our team, is how we get our products to work harder and provide more bang for the buck, so to say. And we're in a competitive industry, and you need to lead the way in innovation if you're going to be Canada's paint company. That's what we did with the anti-scuff. That's a zero VOC product. That's what we'll continue to do. So we put massive investment into our R&D. I can't share too much yet on what we have in the pipeline, but hopefully we'll come back on in a year and be able to tell you even more than we are right now.
Yeah, and maybe just beyond R&D for a second, Ben, and we've talked about it throughout this conversation. But look, the horizon for CIL is one that's really promising. I talked before. CIL, Canadian Industries Limited, that name first started in 1927. So we turn 100 next year, but it'll be also the 1-year anniversary of reestablishing the company as a standalone. And I think it's exciting for our team. We got over 1,500 employees, and that team gets to define what CIL becomes over the next 100 years. We talked about this is a business that meant a lot to Canada in the war efforts in World War I and World War II. I think for all of us, it's a little bit more than a job. It's a legacy that we're building together, and it's exciting to think about, being able to point to our kids and our grandkids one day and say we helped build this company that means so much to Canada in this current standalone form. And there's a lot of exciting things happening right now, but we really believe that the best is yet to come.
Great insight there from Tim Fisher and Brendan Demler of CIL. Before we sign off, any parting words that you two want to offer? And also, feel free to toss out a few plugs as far as the website, social media pages, where any listeners can learn more. Tim, we can start with you.
I mean, Ben, if you're going to set us up like that, go rub a hockey puck on our demo boards in one of our Dulux stores. We're in your neighborhood. Look us up. I promise we have more stores than you'd believe. We're probably pretty close to you. If you don't know where your local Dulux store is, go try out the Dulux anti-scuff. And then, beyond that, you can find Canadian Industries Limited on LinkedIn, and then go to dulux.ca and seco.ca to find our stores and our products. We're located very nearby.
Yeah, Ben, thank you for taking the time out of your day as well. And it's great chatting with you. We're really proud to be a part of this team and the vision that we're on. And I'll give one last plug. If you do want to join Canada's Paint Company, we are hiring. Come be a part of an incredible team dedicated to serving this market. And if you're also someone who's got a project you're working on, come talk to us as well. The team is there to support you and help you find the right solution. And we're going to make sure that it turns out exactly the way you want. It's what we love to do every day. So thank you to our team. Thank you to our great customers. And appreciate your time again, Ben.
Absolutely. Great stuff there from Tim and Brendan. And with that, I think we can put a bow on today's episode. And as far as plugs, if you want more resources from our end at Coatings Pro Magazine, just check out our website at coatingspromag.com and search for the Coatings Pro interview series wherever it is that you listen to your podcast. Until next time, this is Where We Break. For Tim and Brendan, I'm Ben Dubose. Thanks again for listening, and please come back soon for more new Coatings Pro podcasts.